Warning, there will be some spoilers for these episodes discussed in this video. If you haven't already, please go and watch them before you watch the rest of this review. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So, where do I begin? This finale was just, well, a mess really. What a surprise. Okay, I'm going to start with the positives. Wishworld itself was definitely the stronger of the two. I really liked how trippy it was seeing a doctor as a normal person and go about an everyday routine, and I did feel a bit concerned when we saw him and Belinda were a couple, with a certain space baby Captain Poppy as, well, their baby. But it was mainly just full of setup, so exactly like how The Legend of Ruby Sunday was last year. But it did a great job with it, and the fact that we were seeing Conrad's dream reality come true gave us this unsettling 1984 styled feeling. Speaking of Conrad, Jonah Hauer-King did a great job playing him again, even if he was mostly just reading in a CBeebies bedtime story type of way for much of Wishworld, and barely did anything in the reality war. And Archie Punjabi really was superb as the Rani. I loved the tension and envy that Anita Dobson's Mrs. Flood Rani was displaying with being bossed around by her future self as well. It made the two Ranis' relationship with each other pretty unique when it comes to interactions between different incarnations of the same Time Lord. And the two Ranis reference Mrs. Flood makes when the Rani's eaten by Omega was pretty funny as well. Also, I loved seeing Anita from Joy to the World come back, and how her and the Time Hotel factored into helping everyone remember who they actually are. Okay, now for the negatives. Oh boy. So most of this, in fact pretty much all of this, is aimed at the reality war, which just like Empire of Death wasn't a very satisfying conclusion to its season, although I'd say that the reality war is even worse than Empire of Death, which is really saying something. There was just way too much going on and having to be wrapped up, even with the episode's longer 68-minute length. It was a shame that Punjabi's Rani was defeated so quickly and easily with Omega eating her, and that Omega himself was barely even in the episode, only appearing for, 2 to 3 minutes, if that? And when he did appear, he was just another fairly generic-looking CGI monster, with not even any sort of callbacks to his previous designs. But honestly, my expectations for the episode were so low that none of that really annoyed me. I mean, on first viewing anyway. I mean, all of that was badly handled, and it seems like a giant waste of two villains full of great potential. But then I was kind of expecting Omega to barely be in it anyway, given how we hadn't had a proper reveal of him at the end of the previous episode, so I can't say it surprised me really. As I said earlier, the whole stuff about Poppy being a doctor's and Belinda's child did concern me initially, but to be fair, finding out that she was the result of a combination of wishes and memories that the Doctor and Belinda had made me accept it more. I mean, it's still like a really kind of like weird explanation, but it's alright, I guess. At least it wasn't implied that the Doctor and companion had, well, been up to some hanky-panky, as it would have been described as during the J&T era. As nice as it was to see Millie Gibson as Ruby again, and to have her interact with Radha Sefu's Belinda, even if I don't think we saw them properly introduce themselves to each other, she kind of ended up feeling like a bit of a spare part when it was her, Belinda and the Doctor. Her only real contribution was obviously being the only one who remembered Poppy, even though you would have thought the Doctor would also be able to remember her, like even a little bit, as he's doubtless had many experiences with aborted timelines throughout his travels. And obviously defeating Conrad by forgiving him and using the Wish God Baby's powers to give him a better life. It's debatable if he deserved it, of course, but Ruby was the better person for doing it anyway. But then, once all of that, and the baby being adopted by Carla is all out of the way with, we don't really see much else of Ruby. She doesn't even get a proper farewell scene between her and the Doctor. Instead, all the attention is on 15 saying goodbye to Belinda and a restored Poppy before he goes off to regenerate. which feels really weird, especially since she, as in Ruby, was 15's first companion and supposed best friend. I think that speaks to a larger problem with the reality war. Russell just threw too many ideas into it. Too many ingredients went into the pot, as it were. And the end result was just nowhere near as good as it could have been. And also, I feel like this is at least 2 episodes that have been kind of haphazardly like glued or stapled together, um, all because of the fact that like for the whole season we were led to believe that the big arc for the season was going to be the Earth gets destroyed on May the 24th, and we thought, oh, that's going to be the stuff with Narani and Omega, and then that very quickly gets like resolved like only partway through the reality war, and then the rest of the reality war's runtime is devoted to Poppy and the Doctor sacrificing himself for Poppy. Like, it just feels like, yeah, it was clearly like a very sudden decision on Ncuti's part to have this episode be his last as the Doctor. But yeah, as for 15's regeneration, I don't think it was planned all along for one possible minute. I mean, despite what Ncuti himself has said in Unleashed, I honestly think he decided to leave now, whilst all of this uncertainty about the Disney Plus deal remains, and the likelihood of Season 3 at least being heavily delayed increases with every passing day. We know that a very different ending scene was also shot, where Dr. Belinda and co are partying at a nightclub or something to celebrate their victory, with apparently Caroline Ford's Susan then like watching them from a distance. That could potentially have been the original ending, when the crew was more confident that Disney would renew the deal very quickly. But as soon as Russell and everyone else realised that it could take a while, and that Disney might even decide to pull out of it entirely, Ncuti decided to leave, so that he could get on with other roles that he knew would definitely happen in a not too distant future. Which is a very understandable decision, and one that I'm sure most of us would be at least tempted to make if we were in his position, but it does mean that the 15th Doctor is now gone, when I felt like I was just starting to get used to him, and when Ncuti was starting to feel comfortable within the role and giving it his own portrayal and take. I know there'd been various leaks and rumours beforehand that he'd be leaving at the end of this season, but I really didn't want it to come true. And even when I was watching the reality war in the cinema, I kept on thinking, come on, please don't regenerate just yet. I don't know why, but during that farewell scene with Belinda, I was starting to think that he wouldn't regenerate after all, even though we'd already seen his hand glow with regenerative energy. At that point, I was wondering if Ncuti was going to stay for a 3rd season, but that 15 would spend the whole of it slowly dying and starting to succumb to regeneration energy. But no, instead of that, he just straight up regenerated at the end of the reality war, which really is a shame, especially with how small 15's amount of screen time has been over his brief tenure. But I can't blame Ncuti for wanting to leave and focus on other projects now. As for who he regenerates into, I mean, why, Russell? Just why? Why have yet another bit of nostalgia bait to your first era by having Billie Piper return and Ncuti regenerating into her? It just seems like a really desperate ploy to generate buzz and online speculation over what it all means and what's going to happen next, if anything's going to happen next, of course. I don't mean any offence to Billie herself, of course. She's a great actor, and I thought she did a great job of playing Rose back in the day, but come on, this will be the second returning RTD1 face the Doctor's regenerated into in that many years. I know fans have already been going wild wondering what on earth is going on, and especially with Billie not even being credited as a Doctor, and the wording she and Russell gave about it in, I think it was an official press release or something, being very deliberately vague and not saying anything about her actually being the 16th Doctor. But honestly, I just don't care for it myself, really. I think the show really needs to move on from the past and stop this constant navel gazing it seems to be stuck in. I might be a fan myself, but I'm sick and tired of this fan service. Not just with RTD1 actors coming back fairly often, but also with just how reliant the show's become on bringing old elements back in a way that sometimes just feels really cheap and clickbaity, and that it's being done for no other reason than to give us fans a wink and a nudge and go, oh, look at this! Let us distract you from how rubbish this plot is by offering you these cameos and callbacks and returns of obscure monsters and villains like there's some kind of sickly sweet candy. Ugh, sorry, that probably sounded really ranty, didn't it? I'll stop it. But yeah, it did unfortunately leave a very bitter taste in my mouth afterwards. It's great to have old monsters and villains come back every now and then, but I would prefer it if the show's focus was more on just telling good stories and looking to the future rather than to the past. It does kind of remind me of how the show got in 1980s, especially the Colin Baker era in some ways. But anyway, I don't really want to discuss this finale much further. I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 10 overall. I wish I could rank the 2 episodes separately, as Wishworld would definitely get a better rating on its own, maybe something like a 7, but can't, unfortunately. Reality War is arguably worse than Empire of Death was last year, which says an awful lot considering just how awful that turned out to be as well. I just feel so many emotions right now with this. Like, yeah, my expectations for it were really low going into it, which kind of numbed me from being too disappointed when Omega was barely even there and Lorani was gone so quickly. But by the end, all I could really think of was, well, what a waste. Especially with how great Ncuti Gatwa is as an actor and has been as a Doctor. He deserved so much better, and I wish we'd had him for even a little bit longer, like literally just like an extra episode or a few specials or whatever. Never mind a third full season. Even though I understand why that didn't ultimately happen. I'm left in a weird position now of the current era. I want to look forward to watching The War Between the Land and the Sea when it comes out, but I worry that it's just going to be more of the same and be ultimately disappointing. I still love Doctor Who as a whole, of course, but this era, man, it's just... God only knows what's going to happen with the show's future. It probably does have one, even if it is without Disney, but we're probably going to have at least a gap year or 2 before whatever comes next. But I am so unbelievably cautious about this era now, and really not that sure what to think anymore. But anyway, there's my review of Wishworld / The Reality War. What do you think? Did you agree with my thoughts on the finale, or not? And would you have ranked it any differently? Like, honestly, if there's anyone out there who really enjoyed The Reality War and has nothing but positive things to say about it, please honestly let me know, because I would love to hear like different opinion on it and find out like what you kind of enjoyed the most about it. So yeah, please let me know all of that in the comments section below. I know I've been pretty negative for the majority of this video, and I really am sorry about that. I just felt like I needed to give you all my honest thoughts rather than just pretend to enjoy something that I didn't. Anyway, so thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. Please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as press the bell icon at the side of it, so you'll stay notified of when all my new videos come out. And I shall see you all in another video. So, until next time, bye bye!